health bar. It's a basic but necessary component in many games. Some games might work without a health bar, but for others, it's a must. Yet, so many people don't know how to make them. So, in this video, we're gonna learn how you can make health bar for your game. Hey guys, it's me, Apurva. Welcome back to my channel. Now let's get back to the tutorial. So, this is a pretty empty Unity scene with just an empty game object called player that has a script called player. I will show you the script in a bit, but for now, let's create a canvas. I'm just gonna set the canvas to scale with screen size and set the reference resolution to 1920 by 1080, which is the resolution of my monitor. I'm also going to match both on height and width. Now let's create an empty game object under the canvas and set its width to 600 and height to 70. Of course, this is gonna depend on the size of your health bar. Now let's create an image and call it background. I'm going to click here and press Alt and select stretch. Under the image, you select your custom background, but I'm going to select this one here called background and set the color to black. I'm gonna create another image under the health bar and call it fill, and I'm also gonna stretch it. I'm gonna add some padding to make it look pretty. You can change the color of the health bar just by changing the fill color. Later in this video, I'm also going to show you how you can add a gradient to your health bar, but for now I'm gonna use the white color. As you can see, we can simulate a health bar just by moving it like this. For that, let's add a slider component to our parent health bar. Make sure to untick interactable, set transition to none and navigation to none. Now, you might be wondering why my health bar is completely black. That's because down here the value of our slider is set to 0. That's why it's not showing anything. So if I just move the slider to the right, as you can see, our health bar refills. So this is exactly the kind of behavior that we want in our game or in our health bar. So as you can see, there are two values here, a minimum value and a maximum value. Our minimum value is always going to be 0, but our maximum value we can set that to anything. In our case, we are going to set 8 to our max health, but just for testing, I'm just going to set the maximum value to 50, and as you can see, now our slider goes between 0 and 50. Now what I'm going to do is go into our scripts folder and create a new script called health bar and open it in Visual Studio. So the first thing that we're going to need is a reference to our slider. Remember, when we use anything related to Unity's UI, we need to import the UI library. So up here, I'm going to type using unityengine.ui. Now I can type public slider and I'm going to call it slider. I'm just going to create a new method called public void set health, and it's going to take an int called health. I'm just going to set our slider.value to our health amount. Now if we take a look into our player script, as you can see, it's a pretty basic player script. We just have a public int called max health and a public int called current health, and our max health is set to 100. In the start of our game, we set our current health to our max health, and in the update function, I'm checking if I'm pressing the space key. If I'm pressing the space key, I'm just calling a function called take damage and I'm taking 25 damage. If we take a look at our take damage function, you can see it takes an int called damage and it just reduces our current health by our damage amount. So it's a pretty basic player script. In your case or in your game, you already have a player script created where you are dealing with your player's health. In your case, you are going to go into that script. Now, displaying our player's health is pretty easy now. We just need a reference to our health bar script. So up here, I'm just going to type public health bar and call it health bar. Now we have the reference. In our take damage function, we're gonna update our UI image or our health bar. So let's type health bar dot set health, and in parentheses I'm just going to put current health. So we are passing our current health in our set health function. Now if we save the script and go back to Unity and make sure to reference the health bar in our player script, and in our health bar script, make sure to reference our slider. Now if we play the game, as you can see, make sure to also update the max value of our health bar slider to 100. Now if we play the game, as you can see, our health bar is refilled. Now if I press the space button, as you can see, my health decreases and it's showing in the health bar. Great. Now we have a working health bar implemented, but there's a couple of problems with it. First of all, if I change the maximum health amount, I'll have to update that in my health bar. This is not the efficient way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is change my maximum value through script. So whenever I change my maximum health, the slider automatically updates itself. So this is pretty easy to implement in my health bar script. What I'm going to do is create a new function called public void set max health, and it's going to take a int and I'm going to call it health. In the function, what I'm going to do is type slider.max value is equal to our health. So this part of the code is done. Now it's time to set the value. So in my player script, what I'm going to do is in the start of my game, I'm going to type health bar dot set max health, open and close parentheses, and in parentheses I'm going to type max health. Great. Now if I play the game, as you can see, the max value of the slider automatically updates if I play the game. You already have a working health bar in your game, but you might be wondering how you can add a gradient to your health bar. So let's open our health bar script, and up here let's create a new public gradient called gradient. If I save the script and go back to Unity, as you can see, if I select the health bar, there is a new field called gradient, and if I click the color picker, as you can see, it's a gradient editor. So you can create your gradient here. I'm just going to quickly create a gradient from green to red. Currently the blending mode is set to blend, but if you want, you can change it to fixed. As you can see here, then the colors will be fixed, but I think I like the blend. After playing with the gradient amount, when you are happy with your gradient, now it's time to apply the gradient. So in my health bar script, when I set my health, what I'm going to do is type gradient.evaluate and open and close parentheses, and in parentheses I'm going to type 1 because our gradient goes from 0 to 1. So 1 is the right value and 0 is the left value, but currently we're not applying the gradient to anything, we're just setting the gradient. So up here let's create a reference to our image, and I'm going to create a public image called fill, and I'm going to set our fill.color to our gradient.evaluate. I've just noticed something. I actually put the fill color in the wrong function. I will need to set the color when I set the max health, so it's going to be in this function. Now we also need to change our gradient's color when we set our health, so I'm also going to copy and paste it, but we cannot just say 1 here because it's going to dynamically update when we play the game. So you might be thinking we can just put slider.value here, but there's a slight problem because our slider's value can go from 0 to any number, from 0 to 50, 0 to 100. It necessarily doesn't have to be 0 to 1, but our evaluate function takes only 0 to 1. So in this case, what we are going to do is type slider.normalized value. So whatever the value might be, it's going to convert it from 0 to 1. Now if I save the script and go back to Unity, as you can see, if I play the game, the gradient correctly applies. You can see when my health decreases, the color changes. Great. Now you have a basic health bar working in your game. But let's say you want your health bar to be displayed over your player or your enemies. So I'm just going to quickly show you how you can make your health bar show over your player or your enemies, meaning in the world. I'm just going to quickly create a new UI canvas, and I'm going to set the render mode to world space because we want to render it in the world. Now that's it. Now you will move the health bar in your world canvas and make a billboard script so it always points towards the camera. If you don't know how you can make a billboard script, make sure you watch this video to find out how you can create a billboard script. There you go, guys. Now you have a perfectly working health bar in your game. That's it for this video. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care of yourself. Goodbye.